begin, I believe, right this second. So, good afternoon and welcome to Deering Live, the first one of its kind. We are starting Deering Live this week on the new platform of YouTube. Traditionally, we've been on Facebook and Instagram, and it's time to change a few things around. So welcome to everybody watching, and thanks so much for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about ProPik Fingerpicks. For those of you that may know or not know, Deering recently acquired the Fingerpicks brand. And to talk about that today, I am joined by Jamie Deering, our CEO of Deering Bandrowski, and David Bandrowski, our Director of Marketing at Deering Bandrowski. And now we are all on Zoom, all in separate locations. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
I'm great.
Hello.
All considering, doing well. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Well, we'll get straight into this, I think. Jamie, first of all, I'd like to just have you both introduce each other or yourselves to the world. I'm sure everyone knows who you are, but Jamie, what are you and what do you do?
So at this time, I am now the CEO of Deering Banjo Company. I grew up from the moment I was born as, an active part of the family business and have worked and learned pretty much every facet that exists in the company. And so it's a natural progression to carry it on. I always knew I would be part of that. And it's an honor to be stepping into these shoes to see that we carry on well into the future.
Yep, and anyone who's tuned into any of the Deering Tech Lives has probably heard Jamie more than anything. You did the relatives of the banjo session, but for the most part, you've been kind of manning the camera and asking the questions. So it's awesome
yes,
to have you.
I'm actually more comfortable behind the camera. I'm not quite used to being in front.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And David, you've been at the company for some time now. What do you do for Deering?
Yeah, I've been here since 2006, and I'm the director of marketing. And so I've been working on a number of things, such as our website and festival promotions and other sorts of things.
Catalog, David's a mastermind behind the layout. We all work together on that.
Absolutely. Now you play 5-string and you play 4-string as well, right? It's not just a bluegrass style.
I do. I grew up playing 5-string banjo. When you first learn, you learn a little bit of clawhammer, a little bit of 3-finger, and see which way you go. And really kind of went more in the 3-finger direction. And then I live in New Orleans, and I play jazz guitar, and I played jazz tenor banjo. But yeah, clawhammer and 3-finger and tenor banjo.
All well-rounded player.
Yeah, David's a great player.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for both of you for being here today. Right, let's kick this off. So the ProPik story is a fun story. But Jamie, how did it come about? Let's talk about that for a little bit. How did the ProPik? Because a lot of people know ProPik for a long, long time. Very well-respected brand. How did it come to be that Deering started making them?
Okay, well, that takes us back to the fall, December of 2019, where the industry is starting getting the news from Guptill that he was planning to retire. And for the longest time, most people thought Guptill was the owner and maker of ProPik as well. So that news was hard for a lot of people to take because it's a very loved brand, and it makes some of the best small finger picks for women and children. There were just so many reasons it needed to carry on, and it's part of our community. So through the rest of that December going into January, we were trying to reach out to talk and see if there's a way we can help ProPik carry on. And then out of the blue, we get a call from Jim Maxson, and he's a gentleman in Orange County who is an engineer, and he does imaging engineer work that ends up on a lot of items that end up in space, like space shuttles, and he's a very smart man. And turns out he is the designer and owner and maker of ProPik. And that has its own backstory, which nobody really knew. And it was wonderful to find out. And we got to sit down with him and his wife and get that whole history, which was amazing. And in the early 80s, 1982, he was already a musician. He loves playing guitar. He's made some guitars, and he decided to learn banjo. And in taking lessons from Dave Guptill, that's where the connection comes in. Dave was telling him about how you can't get good national picks anymore like they used to make, and he had a pair of the original ones that are coveted. I know my dad has a pair that he won't leave his special spot. And Jim, being an engineer like he is, decided to design his own picks, and that's how ProPik was born. And one of the things that really stood out to our first meeting with Jim and Diane was that they're very much like Deering in that they're customer driven. And they ended up with so many variations of picks because a customer would ask for it or ask if they could do it for their particular need. And we're the same with why we have so many banjos. And it was really cool to hear that history and that commonality. Their biggest thing, because they're at retirement age too, while they're still working in the engineering world and very active in that, they're looking at how can ProPik carry on. And we're really happy to meet and have the same vision of customer service and quality and really caring about the making of it, not just quickly haphazardly doing it, which they liked the fact that that's part of our process as well. So it was a great meeting. And from there, we figured it out. And as of February 24th, we are now the owners of the ProPik brand. And it's been such an honor to carry it on. And we've stayed in touch, and they'll be forever friends. So that's kind of a summary. It's a very short summary of everything.
It's a very good summary, I think. And it was a few months in the making. Which is cool. And then so February 24th was kind of the date.
Yeah, we went up for a few days actually, three of us, and sat down because Jim and his brother John and a few other staff who've been with them since the beginning were the ones making them. We got to sit down and learn the process with them and video it so we can really carry it on exactly like they did. And that was really important to us because they have such a great tradition. Why would we want to change that?
Yeah, absolutely. So February 24th, we start bringing the equipment down.
Yeah.
And I guess that the manufacturing side of the equipment was in-house for a solid, week and a half?
It had gotten set up and was ready to start going into production for about a week before we had to close down the factory. Because of COVID. Right. And that was heart-wrenching, we're right about to do it and we can't. And so as many know, we had to close just like every other business in California, and a small handful of us who could work from home or have a space away from anybody carried on the really important functions that had to keep going. One of those, we weren't sure how, but my mom was able to come in, and she's one you can't get to sit still. She's very active, and she spent the time by herself in the warehouse where we were able to set up a ProPik section and started practicing because we had just learned it. We were just ready to start in, and she wanted to just groove it in. And so she spent her lockdown, additional to putting in a garden at home, all by herself, really practicing everything that we learned and doing the work to be ready to be able to bring them back out. And that was huge. That she did that because she didn't.
Which means though that a lot of the ProPiks that have been done since they came down to Deering have been hand done by Janet Deering herself. Then. Yeah,
between Janet, Chad did some of them early on. Chad's been part of the process on putting it together. He was there when we learned as well. Yeah. And then Darren is also one of our staff who's been picking up some of it, but she has done the majority of it and couldn't be happier. I get to take on all the stressful parts of running a business, and she is having more fun getting to get her hands dirty. That's her favorite thing. She did that for years on production in the early days. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very special ones right now. They're made by Janet Deering.
So get them now.
Yeah.
Get them now. So we're kind of back as a company as far as the California stay-at-home order. We've been back
Yeah.
online now for several weeks, and ProPik continues to go strong. But we kind of, I remember in the first couple of weeks of the lockdown saying, listen, like we've just acquired this brand, like we kind of have to launch it. I know it's not the ideal time, but we gotta kind of get on with it, and it seemed to go over very well, I think.
It did, and it's also something people can use at home. While they don't have to be out at a festival, they don't have to be at a show, but it's something they need for their playing, no matter where they are. So it was nice to be able to figure that out and still provide them during this time, because that is one of those items that you really need.
Absolutely. What does it mean to you, Jenny, as the CEO at Deering, to be kind of, it's a long-standing brand. People know the ProPik brand. It's been around a long time. What does it mean to you to kind of carry on that legacy, and kind of how does that fit into Deering's mission, as it were?
It's a good question. I mean, gosh, there's so many facets to that. The first thing is because we have similar values in how ProPik came about and what was important to them as Deering, that it was a natural progression to take on that brand and carry it on. And Jim and Diana have confidence and are very happy that we have. So there is sort of like a family vibe to the whole, next generation carrying it on, and that feels really good because we've been a ProPik dealer for years, and to be able to see that it's there for people and continues to be that's important to me. So I'm pleased personally that we are. As a company, it's also a natural progression because we are Banjo. We are very involved with the world in that regard. So having this piece provided makes sense as well. So, my answer.
I like it. Yeah, I dig it. I know that since we have launched it, we've had a number of people asking if we have any plans to do certain different styles of pigs or different materials. And can you divulge a little bit more or hint at all of any plans, or are things going to stay the same as far as the lineup goes, or does Deering plan to maybe expand or add new products as we move forward?
Well, right now we're doing the standard line. There are a few materials that Jim had started to test as far as the plastic, like these. These are the best. Those are giant ones that they made. My size, right? This plastic material on the metal plastic thumb picks, he was testing out some other materials and liked them. So we will continue to collaborate with him on that because he still knows how to do all the design work as we need it. So that's one area we may progress into. I know Jens Kruger has some ideas that we may be sharing in the next year, so maybe sooner, we'll see. But it opens the door to a lot. If there is a need in the market for something that isn't provided, this opens the door for us to be able to provide that, which we've always been big on. So while there isn't anything else very elaborate to share, that's a roundabout answer.
Sounds good. Now, I know that's not the biggest pick you have on hand.
No, you want to see
the show the world the biggest pick.
Yeah, the real one. This was actually made many, many years ago for a NAMM show by Jim Knopson, and people used to wear it around the show like a crown and take photos. So others may have seen this over the years, but I'm very happy that we got to have it here and have it be part of what we're doing.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Jamie. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
So moving on then, I don't know, as far as people in the company, that there's too many people that know more than David Bandrowski about ProPik. Hi, David.
Hey. All right.
So you've been playing, how long have you been playing ProPik for? I know the answer, but tell the world.
20 years-ish, roughly. I had, grew up playing just not vintage style nationals, but the newer nationals and the newer Dunlop, and then just like a standard plastic thumb pick. They were, right. And I always found those picks would really, the biggest issue was they would really dig into my cuticle was one thing, on the finger picks. And on the thumb pick, they would just kind of, the plastic would just kind of eat away really pretty quickly. And kind of like, like your standard like guitar pick,
Yeah.
it's not a special guitar pick. It just kind of starts to disappear. But yeah, they would be really uncomfortable, the finger picks, a lot of those times. And then when I have no idea how, because this is pre-shopping on the internet, but where I stumbled across ProPiks, but that double wrap design really made it easy to bend it for your finger.
Can you hold it up so the audience can see what we're doing?
So like here's there's the single wrap and the EC, the extra comfortable wrap, and that double wrap design makes it, just when you bend it, because you always have to kind of bend it to fit your finger somewhat. It doesn't, it's not going to fit perfectly, so you just kind of squeeze it on somehow. But if you didn't get it with the single wraps, if you didn't get it just right the first time, it would crimp kind of wrong, and then that thing would just kind of dig into your cuticle sort of, and it wasn't comfortable at all. But these just made it a lot easier to wrap in a comfortable way. That was the biggest thing off the top. But then as I start to learn more about the different types, then there's all these different, all the different blade styles and everything that you can start to try to solve some problems.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in a little bit, I think. But so with you, what I think would be a really good starting point. I know there's probably a few people watching that really don't know, well, why do I need finger picks? What are they for? I'm sure there's plenty of players out there that love and know them and hopefully play ProPik already. But can you give just a little background? Why do you need finger picks, first of all? What's kind of the purpose of them?
Well, in the 3-finger style, in the traditional 3-finger style playing 5-string banjo, the metal picks on the metal strings really give a crisp, clear tone. It really, you can play with just your fingers, but it's not going to have that classic sort of bluegrass tone. Then when you get into more modern styles of playing the 5-string banjo, you just get a much fuller, clearer tone. With the metal, especially the metal picks hitting those metal strings. The thumb pick is always a plastic pick. These have metal wraps. There's other types of metal wraps and a plastic pick. They do make metal picks too, but generally guitar players or other instruments are using that. But because your thumb is a little stronger than the fingers, so that plastic kind of, in my opinion, evens it out, where the fingers and the thumb start to sound more of the same. Okay,
that makes perfect sense. I was going to ask, why is the thumb pick made of plastic and the others not? That answers the question. So if you're playing, is it just for 3-finger style, or are there other picks that would be maybe for claw hammer style, and how is that dealt with?
There is a claw hammer pick. There's, traditionally in claw hammer banjo, you play with your nails, or then, but your nails start to wear down and you break a nail or something, and then your pick is gone. Like right now, I just kind of cut my nails recently, so I don't really have usually I have kind of nails going on these fingers, but then a lot of people would put on artificial nails that play claw hammer. But if you don't want to do that, you can use a pick, and it goes on the opposite way than you would if you're playing 3-finger style. Because if you're playing 3-finger style, it doesn't go on like Freddy Krueger. It goes on the opposite, because you want the pick to glide across the string, not to hook the string. But if you're playing claw hammer, it goes on, more of that Freddy Krueger style, and because you're essentially making a nail, because now you're downstroking, and so it's still going to be gliding across the string.
Yeah,
it's because the picks are always slightly hooked this way. You don't want to hook the string, or else it just won't work.
Perfect. Very cool. Now, I noticed that you have a brass one there. And I know that one of the big things for ProPik is that they make stainless steel, but a lot of other pick makers are making them out of stainless steel, which are, they're very good. But one of the benefits of ProPik is that the nickel silver is pliable. So is the brass, right? So you don't need special tools to maybe adjust them. You spoke about, fitting properly and kind of squeezing up to fit. Talk about ProPik in the sense of trying to make it fit and be comfortable, which is really one of the things that the ProPik is all about.
Well, yeah, I mean, the nickel silver is kind of a classic design on bluegrass style finger picks. But yes, the big thing, as I talked about, is that double wrap, in my opinion, that really makes it easy to bend around your finger. And also you can, a lot of players will bend the pick this way. Some people have picks up here, some people picks way down here, and some people leave them straight out, or they'll bend them really far. Some people even make them almost like right angles. It's all what feels comfortable and the different tone that you want. It's a very personal thing. There's no right way to do it. It's just what works for you, because everybody's hand is different. We have different size hands, and striking the string is everybody kind of strikes it slightly different. That's why we all have kind of different tones.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. So as far as the metals then, what do they do? Tonally, obviously it makes a difference. So can you talk a little bit how the nickel compares to the brass, to the stainless steel?
Well, it's really the brass is a softer metal than the nickel silver. So so you get a warmer tone. The stainless steel, you get a crisper tone because it's a harder metal. So it's really it's like that density, that hardness is harder it is, the brighter it is, the softer it is, the warmer it is.
So with presumably then, so a brass is going to be a warmer sound.
So brass would be the warmest, stainless steel would be the brightest, and nickel silver would be somewhere in the middle.
So in the middle. Okay, cool. And then with that, a lot of the ProPiks come in different blade sizes. And this is a question that we get quite often. For those of you that don't know, that we carry the ProPiks, that they have a number 1, number 2, or number 3 written on them. And what that's referring to, I think, is the blade size or blade style. David's going to do his best to explain what that means. I do have some questions coming in now, which is cool. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Barbara. Hi, George. Hi, Craig. Hi, Austin. Everyone's here.
Yeah,
oh,
so
here's.
So we have here. I have you may not be able to see it on the camera, but right here is a number 2, and right here is a number 1. And the difference is the thickness, the width of the blade. Mm-hmm. The number 2's going to be a little bit wider. The number 1's going to be the most narrow. And then it goes 1 through 3. So 3 would be the widest. 1 would be the narrowest. 2 is the number 2 would be the most popular. Number 2 nickel silver is the most popular. It's the middle of the road. So I guess it just kind of works for everybody.
So it makes it a good place to start. So then you can figure out, maybe if you're looking for a brighter tone, maybe you go to a number 1 blade, or a warmer tone. You can experiment with brass or number 3.
Yeah, it's definitely something you need to experiment with, because then the next thing to also think about is then they also make angled picks, which let's get a number 2 angled. So here's a 2 angled, and again, it might be tough to see, but the one over here, this is an angled one. This is a straight one.
Yeah, I can see
so it's angled where the blade is shifted in that direction. And the reason being is when you're playing 3-finger style, your finger, you want to try to hit the string, straight on. You don't want to be slicing through it like that. You want to get the best clean tone and least pick noise. You want to hit it straight on. So you can and your hand is like this, but your hand isn't going straight on. And to have your thumb straight on. So it doesn't really work. That angled makes it kind of helps you. A lot of people with the straight ones, they'll put it a little to the side instead of putting it straight on. They'll twist it over just a bit to kind of do that thing that angled is doing. But that angled will kind of help you hit more straight on. Again, it's something you definitely need to play with and kind of see what works for you, because everybody kind of holds their hands slightly different and different size hands and everything.
Right. I remember Jens Kruger was here a few years back, and he said something to the effect of kind of like what you were saying, where you would twist or slightly offset the pick as it is on your finger. And I think one of the things he mentioned was because if you're not hitting, if the paddle or the blade of the pick is not hitting the string square on, then you end up with a lot of kind of pick noise, a lot of kind of squeaky, scratchy kind of noises in the background, which when you know, as kind of a, I'm not saying that you, I have been playing banjo all of my life, but when he pointed that out, it made complete sense. It's you could hear it right away. So would that be part of the angle pick purpose as well?
Totally. Try to reduce some of that pick noise. Is reducing the pick noise and gain a fuller, better tone.
Very cool. Right, we're going to move on to fitting and sizing in a minute. So just a couple of questions. Mr. Jeff asks, my biggest problem is keeping the picks on. Is there a trick other than super glue to keep them tight? Which I don't necessarily recommend super glue. I feel like I'm qualified enough to say that. But do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think one thing is you have to squeeze them when you get them. That's why you don't share. You know, even pre-pandemic, you don't share your picks with people. It's you know, because if somebody puts them up, if they're already bent, and it's metal, so if they're already bent once, and somebody tries to bend them again in a different shape, they're going to start to get crimped and weird, and that's going to start to dig into you. But that's why that when you get them, you bend them on. Like this is my pick, so it fits correctly because I bent it on. But this pick I just pulled out of the box here, so it's too big. If I just put that on, it's going to go flying off. It's not because the pick is too big. It's because I haven't bent that metal yet around my thumb. I mean, around my finger. And so what I do is I put it where I want it, at however far down I want it on my finger, however, and again, experiment, because some people wear their picks way out here. Some people wear them like this. It's a total personal, opinion. It's just like a lot of things in playing music. You really have to experiment to see what works for you. And you get it, and you just kind of squeeze it lightly around until it bends and not so it's tight but isn't cutting the blood off. You don't want to. I remember when I first started, I'd have to squeeze them so tight, and I'd have my fingers all like blue after I'd play.
We don't want that either. I hope that helps answer the question. I'm not sure what picks you're using, Jeff, but maybe ProPik's a good shot. Barbara asks that she has been using ProPik for a couple of years, and she's very happy to hear that we're continuing them. Do we plan to offer Fingerpicks in sizes as they used to for those people needing a smaller wrap? The answer to that is yes. You can actually go to the website. We already make them, and we have the small and the medium size wraps available for players with smaller hands, for sure. Which segues beautifully into the ever confusing, ever famous question of what size picks do I need? Now, David, we've spent quite a long time on this because, like you just pointed out, some people wear their picks kind of closer to the tip of their finger. Some people wear them down towards the first knuckle of the finger. And so it varies quite considerably. And that's kind of one of the beautiful things about ProPik is that they are quite pliable. Let's focus on Fingerpicks for 1 second.
Sure.
Before we move on to thumb picks, but can you offer any insights into people kind of confused maybe about what size picks they need?
I mean, without any sort of measurements going on, but a very general description would be most average sized men and men with larger fingers, but I have I don't have fat fingers. I just have kind of average width fingers. I take the large picks, the medium would be too small because again, I take it, you know, that it's going to be way too big as I first put it on, but I can then bend it around and it'll fit perfectly once I bend it around. If I took a medium or a small, it would just be too small for me with just an, you know, very average adult male size finger. For people, if they, you know, have, you know, more narrow fingers, they might want to try a medium, or, you know, women or kids, you might want to try a medium or a small. We do have some measurements out. One way to do it is to take, on our website, you can take some thread or some, you know, fishing line, whatever, and wrap it around your finger and measure it. And the measurements, I forget exactly what the measurements are when we unwrap that. It's on our website though.
Yeah, and that's kind of a point to bring up, because we did have a few people asking right in the beginning, like there's no information on sizing, and as Jamie pointed out earlier, with the COVID issue and kind of getting everything set up, we kind of had to jump ahead a few weeks sooner than we had initially planned. So we will have a much more detailed sizing guide up there shortly, as well as there are already videos up there with my fair hands, actually, explaining how to measure. So that kind of moves on to thumb picks, which is even a little harder to measure. Let's talk about the different versions that we have, first of all.
Well, first, the most standard thumb picks are the, you know, the metal wrap with the plastic pick. That's the most traditional, taking place of like just fully plastic thumb pick. And that metal wrap makes it so much more comfortable than I mean, a straight plastic wrap can be comfortable, but again, that can't be resized. I mean, people used to say, well, you can drop it in boiling water and then take it out and mold it to your finger. Again, that's going to be it's going to be hot plastic that you're molding around your finger. But this, you know, you can take it just like, and you can bend that metal wrap very easily, whether it needs to be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, to fit your finger. So it makes it much more universal, and it makes it a big difference in fit for myself, because I know those, when I was using just straight plastic picks, I did have that issue of them falling off. And then another thing is, like, this is a medium and this is a large. Me having just like an average size thumb, I can use either one works. If I put just the large on, it's way too big, like just right there, you can see the gap. But I can bend that in and it'll fit. But once I bend that in, but see, look at that. So there's amount of pick that's left. I mean, the pick on the plastic part is a different size on each one. So this does affect me because I fall kind of in the middle, where I can take a large or a medium, and the medium will have less pick showing versus a large. If I make it fit, it's going to have a lot more pick showing, and so that amount of pick, some people will like more pick, some people will like less. Just like, you know, some guitar players like little picks, some guitar players like big picks. It's a personal preference. I used to go back and forth between which one I liked, and sometimes I liked the little pick because it felt like I played a little with a lighter touch, or sometimes I liked the heavier pick because there was more pick there and I wouldn't miss things. But I have a very, very average width of a thumb. If you had any bigger than me, I would recommend the large. If you had any smaller than me, I would recommend the medium. If you have a very average, you definitely can try them both out. And because that pick size that's sticking out is a pretty big thing on the playability. And that's what I like, is because you can adjust, because of that adjustability. You can adjust that's how much pick is showing, and really kind of it changes your tone and the way you strike the string.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Now I know there's a few others. There's a quick pick, in the
Mhm.
collection? You have one there?
I have one here. The quick pick is an interesting thing. It's it's, if you put it on, it has this, instead of a, it just has this little like tongue of a pick
Oh, I see.
coming out. So so again, you're gonna have less pick. You're gonna get a different tone, and for people that like that less pick sort of thing, this might be a way to go. If they want to play with a real light touch. If you're playing with a real heavy touch, you probably want a bigger pick.
The name quick pick implies that maybe it helps speed somewhat. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah, because if you play with a lighter touch, overall your speed is going to be better. That's the heavier touch, the more, generally speaking, the more. So this, having that less pick will help you have a lighter touch and will then increase your speed. That's the way I would think about it.
Very good. Just kind of ties in a little bit. Alan Jones asks, do ProPik make flat picks for tenor banjo players? Now, we have the thumb picks, which I've heard a lot of guitar players use these, particularly if they're doing finger picking and strumming.
Right.
There you go. So that's a kind of a teardrop version.
Yeah,
and then there's a 351 like classic pick shape as well, I think.
Right.
It's like I knew this. I know this lineup at this point.
Yeah. So here's the classic version on right here. Here's your more. Here's the classic version. Here's the thumb flat. They're saying. So this is the teardrop version. This is that classic version. And you're right. Yeah. A lot of guitar players will use this because they play like a hybrid finger style, and then they go into regular picking, and it works quite well. It's because when you're playing that style, one thing is always like, I'd always, like, I'll be playing, if I was playing like a bossa nova on jazz guitar, I'll be doing it finger style, but I'd have the pick in my mouth, and then when it's time to solo, you take it out of your mouth and start playing, and then you start playing comping chords and throw it back in your mouth. You can do that.
All these days,
right. But a lot of players, will use this sort of pick, and it does, because you can hold it exactly like a regular, like you basically put it on, and then you can hold it just like a regular flat pick. Yeah. And so you're playing just like a flat pick, but then when you need it, it's a thumb pick too. I've tried them out here and there. I like them a lot. I haven't made the jump, but some incredible guitar players, use that sort of thing.
Is it a jump that could be made on like a 5-string banjo situation, or is it more kind of geared towards kind of guitar and 4-string banjo players?
I think it's geared more towards people that are using a flat pick, would possibly using a flat pick, but they want to use, they either are having trouble holding on to the pick and it's falling out of their hand, or they're doing a hybrid of finger style flat picking. You could do it on, if you're playing 5-string banjo, and people play 5-string banjo with a flat pick. So if you're doing kind of a hybrid style of your own these days, you could definitely do it on 5-string banjo as well. But traditionally, it'd be for like a 4-string banjo or guitar player.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for your questions. One more question here, and then there's one more thumb pick to talk about in just a second. So Paul asks, he came through the website earlier today, what are the best picks for techniques that utilize both claw hammer and scrug style picking in a single piece? So I think he's looking for a one-stop solution, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I saw that question. I was thinking about it, and claw hammer and scrug style. That's a tricky one. It's almost like your nails are probably the best one there, because just because the picks, if you have it 3-finger style, you have the pick going the wrong way, and you can't it just won't work that way. And then if you put the claw hammer pick on the opposite way, it's not going to work for 3 fingers. So I think probably artificial nails would probably be your best bet.
If it was a set, let's say it's a set of somebody who's playing 3 finger and the next song is maybe a claw hammer style, could they turn like the 3 finger style pick round? Would that be a solution?
You could. Yeah, some people do that. Some people,
Difficult mid-song.
before the claw hammer pick, some people would just use a standard finger pick and turn it around just like that. It might be, if you bent it a lot like this one, then it may not work as well for claw hammer, because the claw hammer pick is a lot straighter.
Yeah.
And so that's the only thing. You'll have to bend it the way that works for both.
Love it. Love it. All right, so there's one more thumb pick that we haven't talked about, and that is the metal thumb pick, which is doesn't have the plastic attachment, doesn't have the paddle blade element of it, is the all-in-one metal piece. Presumably that does something different from a tonal standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot brighter. That metal picking, the metal strings is going to be a lot brighter than the plastic. It depends. Maybe, you could try it out if you want more pronounced thumb action. Definitely. Then you could try the metal pick part of it.
But expect that 5th string to be a little louder.
Yeah, if you're playing guitar, if you're playing, because a lot of guitar players play with just a thumb pick, and maybe you want a heavier bass action when playing guitar. When you're playing fingerstyle, and you want that to jump out more. That's where I'd see a lot of use for it.
Understood. So just to kind of summarize, then, if you had a customer that was new to fingerpicks and you wanted to try playing, let's say for right now, it's a 5-string banjo, give the ideal kind of starting set of fingerpicks without too much in the way of experimentation.
Yeah, if it was an adult male, average size adult male, I would say a thumb pick, standard plastic pick, metal wrap, thumb pick, medium or large, and then probably a number 2 straight to start, nickel silver. That'd be just the most common, and then veer out from there and try. But definitely try a lot of different things, because you'll start to figure out what tones you're going for and what works with your hand.
So a little bit like strings, isn't it? Like you have to
same thing. Strings, your instrument comes with a set on it, and then it's like, well, I like heavier gauge, or I like light gauge. I like this, because of the playability or the tone that you're getting. Same thing.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so before we stop talking about fingerpicks, the kind of other models that we didn't really kind of get into, there's a couple of pretty well-known ones. The Fingertone is a pretty popular model, it seems like, and we have the Sharpie and the Resonator models. The Fingertones are really cool.
Fingertones are very cool. I they aren't traditional, so it's not, you're not going to get, I wouldn't recommend, if somebody says I want to play bluegrass banjo, it wouldn't be your traditional tone and pick to go to. But what they are is they're like a standard finger pick, but they have the middle cut out. And what that does is, a lot of people have trouble with finger picks because they can't feel the strings at all. And so it's just, there's a disconnect of where they are. You're hitting with this metal thing, and you don't get where you're at. But with these finger tones, the metal is playing the string, but your finger still touches the string. So it's if you bend it down more, you could get more finger or less finger. But you can make it where you almost when I just put them on, it's almost like exactly like a normal pick, except I can touch the string at the same time. So I kind of know that, yes, I hit the string.
Yeah.
but definitely you can make it, if you get a little more finger touching, it's going to be a warmer tone. You know, so you get that blend. They're really nice because, I mean, there's a lot of times when I'm playing a certain song and I like the sound of my fingers playing, but if I was playing a gig or playing with other people, it might not have enough punch to kind of to resonate enough. So the finger tones would be a great, you know, solution to get a little bit of that, you know, hence the finger tone, but get a little more punch of a metal pick.
And again, a lot of stringed instrument players like to have that kind of feel factor that you kind of have to compromise a little bit when you're playing finger picks. Traditionally, it takes a little bit more to move away from that. But
yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're playing just fingerstyle, the great thing is you're really engaged with the strings, so you know exactly what you're doing. It takes, you know, when you put finger picks on, you're lengthening your finger some. You're not touching it. You can, you know, you can feel it event, you know, a little bit, but it's definitely different, and it takes a while to get used to.
Very cool. And then the Sharpies are one that fascinate me as well. Do you have a Sharpie handy?
Yeah, Sharpies are interesting.
Like little claws. Jamie's smiling at me. That's it.
I don't have a ton of experience playing with the Sharpies. I'd like to, because what they do is, you can see that pick, again, going back to standard, like number 2 right here, and here's the Sharpie.
Right.
So you're getting a much more, you gain, you know, a crisper attack on the strings, and then also you're removing some of that pick at the very tip. So it might, without me using them a ton, you know, you might get a little bit of a cleaner tone for yourself. Definitely might get a brighter tone, and it's definitely something to try. It's another one of those things. It's, you know, these are subtle adjustments, but they can make the tonal difference and the playability difference quite a big difference there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any other words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
Just, I mean, the main thing is to get something, give it a fair shot, but keep trying different stuff, because don't get, you know, because you should always be trying to improve your tone, no matter who you are. And, you know, it's like a batter trying to improve their baseball swing, and it's just, you know, there's always little things, and sometimes it's just you and your playing, but sometimes just a little bit of a different pick, because will really, oh, you know, if you're open-minded about it, because it's always going to be a little awkward when you first try something different, but when you get over that awkward phase, you might say, oh, this is actually better. And so it's just kind of, you know, that journey of trying different things.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Well, I think we're coming up on the hour. I don't have any more questions, so let me bring Cam. Still running. Let's see. There we go. Right, so we should see Miss Jamie Deering now. Jamie, are you still with us?
I am.
Excellent. Okay. Jamie, you sat there listening intently on that conversation.
Yeah.
I know that you kind of knew a lot. Was there anything that you would like to add to what David and I were discussing?
You know, it's been really interesting on my end from learning the line. Like, I was there, I was part of the process of learning all of it from start to finish. I learned how to make them as well up at Maxon, and it's really hand done work. It's not just through an assembly line type of thing on a machine basis. Each individual one is personally hammered into shape. But also because I was part of that process, I took the end of administrative like I normally do, and I made the spreadsheet that shows each model, the SKU, the inventory we have to reorder for it, and oh my goodness, there are a lot of variations. It was amazing. So that alone was awe-inspiring, that they had that I'm sure if someone looked at deering in that way, they would feel the same way with the amount of models and variations that we have. But on a pick level, it was very eye-opening. So really, there is a pick for everybody in there. And I know a lot of friends who use the small ones. So I'm very happy that we're carrying those on, because to get a good pick that is small enough for people with small fingers is not easy. And children is another one for schools that we've worked with. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad to be doing those. We also did find there was an extra large metal thumb pick that we're going to be bringing back. We have a few left. So for all those big thumbed people, there is one there too. So these ones we're not quite ready to produce. I'm not quite sure there's enough of a market for that. These are ones that they did to show demonstration on how they're made. I love these. Fingerpick.
It's been fun.
Yeah, these are awesome. So that's my thoughts on it. Like, it's neat to hear David talk as a player in more detail about some of the ones I'm personally not as familiar with. I really enjoyed that. So thank you, David. Yeah.
Thank you, David. And thank you to everyone for joining us. I think, Jamie, you probably agree with the sentiment that, we're really excited. This is our first kind of foray into pick manufacturing.
Yeah.
We got pretty good at the banjo thing, so let's this fits very well with what we do, and we hope to honor it and continue it forth with the same amount of quality and integrity that we do with our instruments as a company, and they will remain made in the US. I can tell you that anyone looking for these, you can go to pro-pick.com. There's also a selection on deeringbanjos.com, as well as a lot of dealers are now picking them up. If you're in the UK, Eagle Music in Huddersfield has them, Banjo Studio, banjo.com, Music Villa in Bozeman, Montana just put an order in this afternoon, the Acoustic Shop in Missouri, all over the country right now. So we are shipping, we are producing. Do give them a try, and I think thank you very much to everyone for joining us today. It's been fun.
Yeah.
This will be the start, hopefully, of some really, really fun sessions. Upping our game.
We're going to keep on this line to get you as much content as we can, and improve this line as we learn more options. So
we miss our customers.
Who our next fun guests are going to be.
Yeah, we would normally be on the road right about now. A lot of us anyway, seeing festivals and being at various events and saying hi to a lot of you that we see every year and meeting new people. And it's tragic that we can't do that this year. So we're going to do our best to bring this to you in your own personal front room, wherever you may be. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.